So around about a week ago, I made this video where I went through some of the best budget weapons on the game. But that got me thinking, what is the best value for money weapon? Well, that's the question that we're going to answer in today's video. Now, of course, there are a lot of factors that will determine what is best value for money, such as where you're up to in the game, how many coins you have, and what requirements you have. Not only that, some people may interpret the best value for money weapon as a mage weapon, or a bow, or a standard melee weapon, so it's kind of hard to judge. But today, we focus on this weapon right here, the Shadow Fury. Now, to test how good it is in terms of value for money, we need to compare it to a couple of other weapons, maybe one cheaper and one more expensive, to see where it falls. So here we have the three weapons that we're going to be testing. First of all, the Livid Dagger. The Livid Dagger is definitely the cheapest option of the three. This Livid Dagger costs around about 17 million coins. Obviously we have the Shadow Fury, this one cost me around about 57 million coins. And then we have a Giant Sword, and this one cost me around about 185 million coins. I've tried to keep them all relatively similar in terms of upgrades and enchantments, just so we have a fair test. This video is not, I'm not here to debate, you know, one for all or regular enchantments. This is just going to give us more of an accurate result that we can actually compare. And yes, this Giant Sword has fuming potatoes, not hot potato looks. Realistically, it's not going to make a big difference, and I will factor this in. Anyway, we're going to take a look at the stats before we do the damage test. On the Livid Dagger, gives us plus 251 base damage, plus 295 strength, plus 100% crit chance, and plus 55% crit damage. Also, plus 55% bonus attack speed. You have your right-click ability where you throw a dagger, although really, if you're getting a Livid Dagger, you're not going to use it for this ability. You also do double damage when you hit a mob in the back, which is pretty cool. As for the Shadow Fury, gives us plus 361 base damage, plus 412 strength, plus 66% crit damage, gives us a little bit of speed too. The right-click ability on the Shadow Fury, when you right-click, you basically get teleported behind an enemy and then you just hit them. It's pretty cool. Giant Sword, obviously a little bit different considering these two weapons could be considered maybe berserk weapons, maybe not the same for the Giant Sword, but it's sort of natural progression. Okay, so it gives us plus 580 base damage and plus 246 strength. You, of course, also have your ground slam ability where you right click and it just shoots a massive sword into the ground and it harms enemies and stuff. And like I said before, this Livid Dagger you can pick up for between 15 to 20 mil, the Shadow Fury for between 55 to 60 mil, and the Giant Sword for between 180 to 200 mil, just depending on the time of day and so on. That's enough about stats and prices. Of course, value for money is important, but we also need to test if the weapons are actually good and how good they really are. But before the damage test, I just want to remind you to subscribe to the channel. Become part of the 23%, there's really no reason not to. Anyway, in terms of setup that we're going to be using 3 Force Necron with a Warden Helmet. We're going to switch our Power Stone over to Hurtful, and we're also going to use this Tiger Pet. Okay, so Livid Dagger. How much damage is the Livid Dagger going to do? 721k, but that could possibly have been a back hit. Okay, maybe it's not. So it was. Skyblock just has an issue with registering what is and what isn't a back hit. The actual damage we do is 360k, or around about that sort of margin. We'll go again. Yeah, 360. Okay, Shadow Fury. That deals 575k damage, so substantially more, as you would sort of imagine for the increase in price. Well, that's really quite solid. And then with our Giant Sword, we'll do a little damage test of the Giant Sword. That's going to do 750k damage. So what we see is a massive step up from the Livid Dagger to the Shadow Fury, and then once again a massive step up from the Shadow Fury to the Giant Sword. Of course, we can deal way more damage with the Livid Dagger if we hit in the back, but that's not really consistent, and realistically you can't always aim for the enemy's back. It's not always going to register either. Right-click ability on the Livid Dagger. It's pretty standard, there's not really much to say. You're not buying the Livid Dagger for the right-click ability, let's be honest. And with the Shadow Fury, we need to find a bit of a populated area. Here we are, so if we just spam our right-click... I mean, obviously there's a cooldown once you've sort of gone through 5 enemies, but it's pretty cool. Yeah, can't really complain with that. Giant Sword's ability, right-click, massive sword thrown, and there's a cooldown of 30 seconds, so once again, if you buy the Giant Sword, it's probably not for the right-click ability, as with most of the weapons. Now I do want to mention the requirements for these 3 weapons. So the Livid Dagger just requires a floor 5 Catacombs completion, the Shadow Fury requires the exact same, and the Giant Sword requires a floor 6 completion. Well, here are the facts. For me, the Shadow Fury does 210k more damage than the Livid Dagger on a regular hit. The difference in price is around about 40 million coins, give or take. Maybe sometimes around about 35. The Giant Sword does around about 175k more damage than the Shadow Fury. The difference in price as of buying these weapons today is around about 125 million coins. Now, I'm not saying that the giant sword isn't worth it, because it is worth it. Also, it does have fuming on it, so the difference in damage would actually be slightly different, or slightly less, but it'll be around about the same. But yeah, the giant sword is a crazy weapon, 100% worth it. Before the Dark Claymore, get a giant sword. Obviously, it depends what you're using it for. But I just think, for the amount of coins extra that you pay for a Shadow Fury in comparison to the Livid Dagger, you also have to consider they have the same requirement. The Shadow Fury is just way, way, way above. It's crazy. To be honest, I always used to be a massive advocate of the Livid Dagger. And for good reason. Don't get me wrong, it's not a bad option at all. It's fairly cheap. You can pick this up for, on a good day, around about 15, 14 million coins. And for that price, it's an absolute steal. Like I said, for the amount of coins extra you pay for the Shadow Fury, it is absolutely cracked. But I feel we should do a little bit of test in dungeons. That might be completely fair to the Giant Sword, considering, I mean, if you're going to use it in dungeons, you're probably going to use it as Mage, not Berserk, but we'll do it just for fairness, really. We've also switched out to the Tarantula helmet within dungeons because, well, Warden helmet's a no-go. Just went into an entrance for a damage test and I just died. What? Anyway, with our Livid Dagger, at the moment we're dealing around about 4 million damage, 5 million, yeah, say 4 to 5 million. With the Shadow Fury, we're dealing 6.6, 8.5. Okay, it looks like around about 8.5 million. Well, looks about right. And then, like I said, I know the Giant Sword, I mean, it's kind of pointless even really testing it, but that's what's that doing, about 9 million, 10 million? I think we can sort of disregard the Giant Sword from this test. But yeah, honestly, Shadow Fury's pretty cracked, not gonna lie. So, the Shadow Fury scales pretty well within dungeons as well compared to the Livid Dagger. Now, I would say that probably the main thing that would limit people from getting the Shadow Fury is obviously its price. Another requirement, if you can buy a Livid Dagger, you can also use a Shadow Fury. And I guess if you're struggling to get the floor 5 completion, you might want to consider getting carried. But how do you do that? Well, if you join the Discord, it's the top link in the description down below. And then you can head over to the carry tab. Here we have a channel that explains how to actually get carried, and then the prices for the floor of catacombs that you need carries for. Of course then, if you need to use your Livid Dagger, you can get this floor 5 completion. Probably not that one considering it's Master Mode floor 5, but you get where I'm coming from. I guess the only massive perk really of the Livid Dagger in comparison to the Shadow Fury is not only its bonus attack speed, but its crit chance. It gives you a 100% crit chance, so you're never not going to basically get a crit. Plus 50% bonus attack speed. It's quite a nice bonus for earlier game players. Of course, the Shadow Fury doesn't provide either of those two perks. So what this means is if you haven't maximised your attack speed with the Shadow Fury, potentially the Livid Dagger could actually fare a little bit better in terms of DPS than one-hit damage. Having said that, maximising your crit chance and bonus attack speed to, well, whatever it needs to be at, isn't exactly that difficult. There's many ways now that you can increase both your attack speed and your crit chance pretty easily, power stones, enrichments, and so on. But I think that just about wraps up today's video. My conclusion would be that the Shadow Fury, for the price, is just ridiculous. Livid Dagger is still a good option, but if you actually do compare the two, it's kind of crazy how much better the Shadow Fury is for a relatively small amount of coins. Anyway, if you did enjoy today's video, make sure you do leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.